אהלן לכל המטיילים והמטרות, ואנחנו בעוד פרק של מטוסי נייר, הפודקסט שלוקח אתכם לטיולים, הרפתקאות, סיפורים ומקומות ברחבי העולם, והפעם במצב טיסה. אז כמו שתוכלו לשמוע מיד בפרק, כמו כל הפרקים למעשה, אני מקליט אותם כחלק מהטיול שלי, ומנסה באמת למצוא את המקומות הכי אידיאליים, אבל תקשיבו, זה קשה. כי בסוף אתה מוצא בן אדם עם סיפור מאוד מאוד מעניין, אתם תשמעו עוד מעט סיפור באמת מטורף, אבל אתה רוצה לצאת מנקודת ההנחה שאתה לא תפגוש אותו עוד פעם, אז אתה מנסה לנצל את כל הזדמנות שיש לך כדי להקליט. אז מתנצל מראש, מדי פעם יש רעשים, הקלטנו את זה באזור הכי שקט שמצאנו בהוסטל, והיפנים באמת יחסית שקטים, אבל לקראת הסוף התיישבה לידינו איזה סבתא עם מיליון שקיות ופלסטיקים, ואי אפשר להגיד לה, אל תתעסקי בפלסטיקים שלך, באמת זה היה מוגזם, זה השקית מלאה בשקיות שמלאה בשקיות שמלאה בקופסאות פלסטיק. הדבר הכי מרעיש שיכולתם לדמיין, אז מתנצל מראש אם לקראת הסוף יש קצת רעשים, אני אנסה לנקות אותם כמה שאפשר, ולפני שאנחנו מתחילים אבל אל תשכחו לתת בדירוג של הפרק ולשתף אותו עם חברים, ככה להפיץ את הפודקאסט בקרב אנשים, תעשו טובה, תשלחו את זה לפחות לבן אדם אחד שאתם חושבים שזה יכול לעניין אותו. תודה רבה באמת על ההאזנה, ויאללה, בואו נצא לפרק. אהלן לכל המטיילים והמטרות, ואנחנו בעוד פרק של מטוסי נייר, הפודקאסט שלוקח אתכם לטיולים, הרפתקאות, סיפורים ומקומות ברחבי העולם. ויש לנו היום פרק שהוא באמת מיוחד. פגשתי פה בחורה מדהימה בהוסטל שעשתה טיול אופניים לאורך כל אירופה, אסיה והגיעה עד יפן. אז נציג אותה ממש עוד מעט, אבל היא אירופאית. אז ככה שהפרק הולך להיות באנגלית, אז תתכוננו. המבטא שלי כמובן הוא לא הכי מדהים, אבל תתמודדו עם זה בצורה טובה. אז יאללה, בואו נתחיל. What's up, Ailias? How are you?
Fine, thank you.
I'm saying it correct? Or? Ailias. Okay, we try to say it in the right way. So we met here in Paggoshima, in the south of Japan, and you did very unique experience, I think. So I said I need to take this opportunity to record an episode with you. So can you tell us a little bit about you, where you're from?
So I am Ailias. I am French, a French citizen, but I am from a French island in Caribbean. So the name is Martinique. And
search it on Google because I think that most of the people don't know where is it. So
yeah, even French people, to be honest, sometimes.
Where is it exactly? Like if you're looking on the Caribbean.
So you have in Caribbean, we call like in French les grandes Antilles and les petites Antilles, so the big island of Caribbean and the small one. So the big one are much more known. It's like Jamaica, Haiti, Cuba, Dominican Republic. And then if you go south, you will find a lot of small one. And Martinique, it's one of them. It's more or less at the west of Barbados. Where Rihanna comes from.
I think it's like more, if you're looking on the map, it's more close to South America than North America.
It's quite close to Venezuela.
Great. But you speak French in the island?
Yeah, so the island, it's French. Exactly, I was explaining on the administrative level, it's exactly like being in France, but you are being in France in a warm weather.
It's like the Grand Canarian, kind of.
I mean, it's even like, warmer. I mean, not warmer, but it's really like the island is between the two tropics, so it's really tropical island. We don't have winter at all. It's summer all years long, and it's also very humid. And yes, so we speak French, but we also have a local language, but it's Creole, and people still speak it in daily life. But it's not used, it's not an official language, it's not used for administrative thing.
But you studied in France, right, in Paris?
I studied actually in Toulouse. So yeah, I was born there, I lived there till my 18, so it's the age you pass the high school final exam in France. And then I left like a lot of young people for France to do my study, and Actually, it's one of the main issues of the island that the population getting older and older because all the young people are kind of forced to leave for studying or for finding a job because the level of unemployment for young people is crazy insane there. And so yeah, it's an issue now because not enough young people stay. Mm-hmm. So it's what I did. I went to France, to Toulouse, and I studied there. And then I stay because I start to work, and it's not so easy to go back.
What you studied in the university?
I study political science.
So it's also connected to all your trip, and you see different politics.
Exactly, and also I study actually political science and international relations. So.
Ah, wow.
Yeah.
So you also explore the relation between countries on the borders.
Exactly. For me, so yeah, we didn't mention it. So my trip was I cycled from France to Japan, the whole way without taking plan, and I would go back to France also by land, but this time without the bicycle, by bus and train, and mostly with a Trans-Siberian line in Russia.
So you are now in Japan, then you're going to Korea, right?
Korea, and then Russia,
and then Russia, Trans-Siberian, all the way to Moscow,
and then St. Petersburg, and then Tallinn in Estonia, and then Berlin in Germany, Fribourg in Germany, and France, Montpellier in south of France.
You're going back to Paris, or going back to the island?
I'm going back to south of France, actually, Montpellier, where my parents actually live. Not exactly Montpellier, but quite close. And the goal is to be at home for Christmas.
Oh, wow. Okay. You have 1 month.
1 month, exactly. It's quite a rush, but it's doable.
You're gonna take a plane to your island? Like home, you said the island, right? But
No. Actually, now my parents live in south of France. So when I said home, I mentioned south of France.
Like, you have so different kind of homes. I think. Like,
yeah, it's a complex. It could be a entire podcast. What is the identity and what we can call home?
Exactly. Yeah. Like people have so many kind of homes, like where you grow up and then where you establish your life and
actually I said home because it's easier, but I'm still looking for my home. And one of the point of the trip was to explore that. Okay, I didn't really walk, but still work. It's still work in progress. But
because you didn't visit Israel, I think if you visit Israel, maybe you can choose this as the
Actually,
home.
I was not looking for a place to settle, but more to understand what was the connection people have with their land, what was making them feel it's their place, it's where they belong. And it's so inspiring actually to travel, especially in rural area, because people just are in the same place since decade and generation, and they really feel connected to their land also because they go farming, raising
children,
farm, and so it's the land that give you food, and also even in very extreme weather when people live in the mountain and it's like -15, -50 even like during winter, and they still live there. It's crazy.
It's crazy, yeah. But it's also on your path, we will go over it, but there's also some places that have unique things that population are like move or transfer to this area, or like the identity changed because borders also affected the identity.
It's especially true in Central Asia. So when I mention Central Asia, I think about what we call the Stan countries, so Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, Kyrgyzstan, that are former countries from USSR. But before were existing, and especially in the all Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, and the piece of Uzbekistan area, people were nomadous population before. So, and during the USSR period, I am not a historical specialist, but it starts actually during the Russian Empire. The Russian Empire started to be present in the region, and when the USSR were created, they create republic in all this country with more or less actual border. And doing that, they just forced to settle population. The USSR were not so a huge fan of nomadous people. And so we kind of try to fix the population to a land. And now in this region, there's a lot of border conflict because the border
are just
it was not a land and a nation. It was different nations, tribes living in land that are now different country, and so it's create a complex situation. Very also rich in culture and things, but yeah.
I think this is like I will talk about also later, but one of the problems in the world now, but all the colonialism that been before made some borders. Like in Africa, you see it's very clear because it was full of tribes. Each tribe was its own identity, authentic place. It lives there. And now when you create border, you give the authority to one tribe to control other tribes. And this is what makes this kind of citizenry wars.
But it's true in former colonial country. But it's also true in Europe. I spent quite a lot of time in the Balkan area, that are countries that are from the ex-Yugoslavia. And it's
like Slovenia, Croatia.
Yeah, Slovenia, Croatia, Bosnia, also Serbia, but I didn't want to Serbia. It was a little bit too cold at this moment. But it's really interesting topic to study it, because so you have different tribe and identity, and we still focus on the idea that so I am European. So for me, it's kind of born in Europe of one nation, one country, and it's not the reality there. And so it's still, when you are in Bosnia, it was a civil war during quite recent, and I slept in building that was not almost destroyed, with a lot of impact of bullets on the wall, and you pass really desert area with abandoned village because of a civil war, and then you arrive in the capital Sarajevo, and you still have like the two populations that coexist in this country after the civil war, after like so much dead people. You have massive symmetry with young people. When you see on the grave, people have under 20 and they are died. So yeah, it's true, like the question of the border and all of that, and it's true, like you go in Georgia, a piece of Georgia now, it's colonized by Russia. And still, like the border issue, it's very present in a lot of area.
So I think when you're cycling and going this way, also it's affecting your trip, and it's very challenging thing to go past, because you need visa for some places. Some places are too complicated to pass. It's affecting your road. So let's also memorize like the road you did. So you started from France. And your goal was what? To go to Japan?
So at the beginning, the goal was to reach China, and what it was important for me, it was to cycle and to not take a plane. So to be able to do it in a continuous way by land.
It was an environmental issue, or just?
Of course, for me, like I am not flying anymore. I actually try, and I think it's important to at least reduce a lot, the plane industry. It represents on the global scale 5% of GES emission. So it seems not so much, but actually it is. It's one of main part, like main emission sector, and also it's the only one that didn't reduce the past decades. Its emission. Yeah, so it's a real issue, and I think that we have, of course, the rich people have to not take private jets, and but also as individual, if I don't speak for people that are binational families or things like that. I understand for this type of people it's difficult to don't take the plane, but I am thinking for people that just take plan to travel, to enjoy, or for business reasons also we have to improve a lot. For me now it's kind of a luxury, but maybe the next generation can afford to, we can accept to continue like that, because we face an emergency. But not taking a plan, it's also a good way to enter in adventure. If you just start a trip saying, I will not take a plan, you will live, I think, a way more adventurous trip than if you take a plan. And
also there is also the option in the middle, like you can take the plane for the start, like from arriving from like Israel to Japan, and then you can try to go by no train, like no flights, like just trains or buses, like trying different ways. Combine it, because there are some areas also like in Israel that I need to pass. I cannot pass entirely.
Yeah,
so
I grew up in an island, so I know what it can be to be blocked. So yeah, of course it's possible. Also, when we were speaking before, I was mentioning the passport. I have a French passport, so it's pretty easy for me to travel like that, because I can travel in a lot of countries without visa. For example, I travel in, I think, 22 countries to arrive in Japan, and I only needed a visa for Russia. So it's pretty easy, and when you travel by land, so you have to take care of the visa issue if you need some, and when you need some, it costs money. Sometimes you will not have it, because some countries don't depend of your nationality. So I am not, like, I don't try to make people feel guilty, because the question of traveling without a plan, it's also linked to other privilege that we have as our nationality, or the place where we start. And
also it's depend on your time and your budget. Some people don't have this amount of time, so to spend this time on the road. People are trying to see as much as they want. Like we spoke about that on, like, you met two Australian that travel in Europe 2 weeks. And people trying to do as much as they can in this period of time that they have a vacation.
But for me, so not taking a plan, it's not only like when you choose to not take a plan, it's not just you pursue the same goal of traveling and you do it without a plan. Of course, what your trip will be, the thing you will see, how far you will get. Sometimes all this goal change by this decision, because, and I really think that it's for every reason it's super interesting to not take a plan, because it's not only not taking a plan, like not having this carbon emission, it's also rethink our way of travel to try to avoid a sort of FOMO, of missing something, but what. It's also maybe push us to wonder, like, why I want to go to Japan, why I want to do all the country in Southeast Asia. Why, for example, when I am in Vietnam, I will choose to pass in Laos. Is it because I'm curious about Laos country culture, or is it because I want to check Laos and say after that I travel in 40 and counting, and maybe you can be curious about Laos culture, of course. I think it's very interesting, but I really think that if we wonder why we travel and why we make some choice when we travel, honestly, just with ourselves, I think partly of the travel thing, it's partly something quite egocentric. We are pushed by social media to count the experience, to count the country, and by not traveling on plan, it's try to just change the whole way of thinking about that. And for me, it's interesting. So of course, so some people don't have time to go to Japan by not taking a plan. But maybe a lot of what people look for when they want to travel from Japan, they can find it closer, going without in other country closer. It's for me, it's kind of strange, because most of the time I feel when I speak with people traveling that everyone look for authenticity, real connection with people, real discovery. And in the same way, some people can say like it's what they look for, and they will arrive in a country, spend 5 days, they will fly and spend 5 days in the capital, and they will still say that it's what they look for. And I don't judge, but for me it's impossible to find that spending 5 days in the capital in a country.
You cannot understand the whole country by like passing by one city. It's like if I'm comparing it to Israel, if you are landing in Tel Aviv and spend 5 days in Tel Aviv, you don't understand Israel, because you just been in Tel Aviv, and Tel Aviv don't represent all the country. Also like Paris or everything.
Exactly.
Maybe in the island, if you are in one city, it's the only city you have. But
Actually, in the island city, it's absolutely opposite of island.
Yeah.
No, we don't really like.
But when I'm thinking it like opposite, I think it's very curious thing that you go up in an island, but there's borders of water, and you must take something like a plane or something for big distance, and then you decided to do something opposite. Maybe because you grew up in just like a narrow, blocked area, you decided to explore the borders by a different way. And if you grow up like in Europe, but it was more easy for you to grow up, but you can take trains to travel all Europe, maybe it wasn't such an issue for you to travel in that way.
Yeah, I don't really know. For me, like, it's one of the reasons for now I choose to not go back to Caribbean, because if you want to live there, now I have a lot of friends in France, and it's kind of, you need to take a plan, of course, when you're on the island. But my next goal next year, in 1 year, is to go in Martinique by sailing a boat. So I will try to do it. Like,
you want to sail by yourself or?
No, with people that know better than me. I will learn, but the goal is definitely not to be capable to do it
alone. You can cycle on the ship, like
like a pedal.
Like a pedal. Actually, this is going to be cool. Pedal from Europe to.
Someone did
Really?
it. Yeah, someone like had challenge to kind of pedal from, I don't know, France or Germany, I don't remember, to Canada, and actually cycle to the south of Spain, and then take a pedal about one mate for doing it, and pedal the Atlantic, and then pedal with a proper bike in North America. Yeah.
Wow. People are doing so
crazy things.
Crazy things, really. Just for the listeners, it's okay to travel in a normal way sometimes.
Yeah,
it's
of course.
Okay, yeah, it depends on your personality, totally. But we just want to give you inspiration. This is also something we spoke before. We are both trying to create content on the social media, but I think we are both trying to create something that is unusual, like giving the real perspective of traveling. Because travel is not just glamorous things. Sometimes there are bad issues, and for sure you experience some of this on the road, no?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, just to go back, when I said like I don't want to travel by plane, and I try to raise this issue, it's not to say like feel guilty and feel bad because you take a plan, just because I think it's nice to wander, and maybe it can open perspective to reduce and to change one travel by another type of travel, and it doesn't need to be so extreme. And I do it on kind of extreme way, but it can be a smaller step, and it's nice if you just wonder about that. And yes, traveling, it's not glamorous, especially when you are cycling. It's really not glamorous, and you are camping. But yeah, you have to have, I want to, when I share my trip, I want to not say like, you have to be super strong and you have to be perfect all the time for doing it. You don't. People ask me if I am scared, and I am actually, like, till maybe 2 years before going for the trip, I was still sleeping with a light in my room. I was scared to sleep on dark, and now I sleep in public bench. So it's just like, it's not, I pushed before this trip and during this trip also the limit of what I am fear about, and also my comfort zone. I am more comfortable now than 14 months before when I start, and so it's really okay to be scared during the trip. It's okay also to have very down moments. For me, it was also important to say like, so you will be sick, but you will some time of mental breakdown. You can.
You need to have the powers to go over it.
Yeah.
And this is something that happens all the time. Also, when just
it's especially when we are speaking about long trip. Long trip, it's a part of life. If you live for 1 year, for example, if you think about your regular life, 1 year, it's never perfect. It's always up and down. So when you live for traveling during 1 year, you can't it's not possible to expect this to be perfect during 1 year.
Exactly.
It will be up and down the same way your life, it's up and down. And it's completely okay. And for me, what it was important, it's okay when you are down. Maybe you are in a city or in a place you wanted to visit and so much thing to see, but it's okay to not, don't feel guilty if you need to stay in a place, to watch a series, to take care of yourself. Do it.
Sometimes it's okay to stop, really. It's
Yeah.
okay to stop, because when we are working in normal routine, we have weekends.
Exactly.
When you're traveling, you don't pay attention to the days, you don't take breaks, because you say, I'm on holiday, I'm on a vacation. It's totally different. You're not in a holiday when you're traveling for a long trip.
Exactly. And it can be super exhausting.
Yeah.
The way I travel, so I cycle, so it's exhausting for my body, but I camp too, so it's also sometimes exhausting, and you have to take a lot of decisions, and I think it's true with all the way of travel every day, a lot of small decisions,
and decisions are exhausting, really.
And
I think
it's
one of the most exhausting things is to get so many decisions on the day.
all the time. So it's cool to sometimes stop, and I think it's also cool to accept to quit. Quit, it can be a negative thing like that, but just to, at some point, you can feel that the trip, it's over for you, and it's okay. Even if you plan at the beginning to travel more time and think
Can change, yeah.
Just,
I think we need also to go a little bit backward for our listeners to show them like the whole world you did. So you started in France, right?
Yeah.
And you finished in Japan, but what was the countries in the middle? Because there's like so many options.
So I start in France. I pass through Italy, Slovenia, Croatia, Bosnia, Montenegro, Albania, North Macedonia, Greece, Turkey, Georgia, Armenia, Georgia again, Russia, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, China, Korea, and Japan.
And you took a ferry. This is the only way you did?
Yeah.
The only ferry you take is...
I took a ferry from China to Korea, because it's not possible to pass through North Korea. And then a ferry from Korea to Japan.
So also sometimes you need to take those change, not cycling all the way. There's some circumstances.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
But when you are looking with that perspective on all your trip, where it's like some places that you say, I can spend more time there, or I'm more curious about them. Yeah,
actually, so some moment of the trip I really didn't have like schedule, and some I was a little bit under the pressure of the time, and by time I mean climate, like the season. Some area was not possible to pass in if I was too late. For example, if the winter will be too much here.
So you also need to manage this. It's not something.
So you need to have it in mind, and the thing it's at the beginning I didn't have it in mind. So at some point I had at the end to rush a little bit too much. And for me, like in Georgia and Armenia, I would like to spend much more time the next time. But definitely Central Asia, Tajikistan, mountain. Yeah, I really feel I just lost a piece of my heart there, and definitely I want to go back and to explore more and to spend more time. It's just amazing nature and people too. It's intense, difficult to explain, but it's amazing. But I was just for me this trip was amazing because I was not waiting to arrive in Central Asia, or I was not waiting to arrive in Turkey for feeling. I start the trip. When I start the trip, I start in my place. I just leave on bicycle from the place I was living in south of France. And I was curious about a route that was 100 kilometers from my place. So I had curiosity already since the beginning, and the whole trip was fulfilling this curiosity kilometers after kilometers. I felt really I started the trip in my home. And it was so cool.
But how you kept those curiosity and motivation all the way? Because as we spoke, there is so many crashes on the way, like crises, and for sure was some moment that you said, okay, I'm coming back, I packed my bike and go home?
I had, when I left, as I said, I had China as a goal. Until I arrived in China, I had moments with more difficult than others, but I never thinking about quitting. But sometimes I was saturated of image and discovery. It was the case after the Balkan area, because I changed. The Balkan, it's a lot of small country, and especially because it was winter, so I didn't want to go too far in the mountain of this country, so it was fast. So sometimes I was spending only like 4 or 5 days in the country, just passing. And each country have its own money. Sometimes the language change, even if most of the countries speak Croatian more or less. So it's a lot you pass a border, so you have to readjust some stuff. And so I was feeling mentally exhausting when I arrived in Greece. And in Greece, I take it slow. I stopped a little to recharge and also to make space for new image, new information, new culture. And after China, I decided to continue, and we spoke about it when I arrived in Korea. Yeah, I was feeling, after the intensity of Central Asia, I was thinking, yeah, it's a little bit boring. I have to find new motivation for continuing when my goal was achieved. And
this is the worst issue, because you achieved already your goal. Like, a lot of sport people like achieving the goal and then you just decrease them.
Exactly. But I wanted to continue. I had still motivation. When I arrived in China, I wanted to continue. And then when I was continuing in Korea, I had like 10 days of, I was not sure, and I was really not sure that I will not take a plan and go back home. And as people said to you in the situation, that it's not when it's on the walls that you have to decide. Most of the time, it's always nice to let pass a few days, because it's happened. Sometimes you have down moments and you let it pass, and maybe it will not pass, and it's okay to go back. And I did that. I did some change. I met other cyclists to have some company for a few days, and the motivation came back. But maybe if it will not come back, it will be the same. Okay, it came back, and I was super happy to have wait a few days to see. If you
just give yourself some time for understanding the situation.
Yeah, and in Korea, actually, I was, I didn't cycle my common way. I was cycling a little bit on the mountain, and I was not feeling it. So I took a bus to reach the coast, feeling like maybe being in the sea coast will give me some motivation. And it worked for one day, and then it was not working. So other cyclists tell me, like, okay, we are in the opposite way of direction of the country. Come to cycle with us. So I take a bus. So it was a little bit a mess, I would say, but it was okay, because I was feeling not really knowing what I was feeling, what I would do. So I just accept to
have those changes.
Yeah, to change and to see if it works, and eventually it worked.
I think in every trip you have this kind of transition between places. Like you've been to very different countries, like China and those Central Asia are very different than the Western kind of countries in like Korea and Japan. So this transition is very hard sometimes to do. Also very physically, like you did cycle so much. So
yeah, sometimes you're tired. But I experienced that on previous trip, to push too much the body, and it ended quite badly. Actually, I ended in the hospital, and so I cycled from Vancouver to Los Angeles, and I cycled a lot. And when I went back to France the first morning, I was quite addicted to endorphin, I think. So I wake up early because of the jet lag, and I want to run because I needed to do sport, because I was doing that during 2 months intensively. And my body just shut down, and I had convulsion. I do migraine, and I did a very, very violent migraine that was started by the body was not. I didn't respect it enough. So I learned a lot from that, and during this trip, I did really less, but allowed me to enjoy a lot also more the moment, the meeting, to cycle less, but travel more, kind of. And I feel like less stress, and I feel my body it's less stress now.
Because you learned something on the way in Vancouver to Los Angeles, maybe.
Yeah.
So this is not your first time cycling this long distance?
No, before this trip, I cycled, before starting this trip, I had already cycled 10,000 kilometers around the world.
So where you did this in North America, it's like 4,000?
Yeah, a little less, like 3,500, something like that. And I did a Tour de France and the crossing of Switzerland, a piece of Germany, like 5,000. And then I did small trip from my place to Spain, thing like that. Small.
I'm doing a before. Small. Small is riding from my home to the office. This is small.
No, but trip like around between 500 and 1,000 kilometers.
So you have this issue with bicycles before. It's not like the first time.
No, it's not the first time.
But it's not. It started on the island. No, it started when you were in France.
No, it started 4 years ago. But when I started, I was obsessed since I started with a little trip of 4 days cycling in a very common and very with a lot of infrastructure touristic area in France. And after 4 days, I come back and I had a new obsession. I was really obsessed. I mean, I just cycled during 1 year, so I imagine I'm still a little bit obsessed about it.
How do you feel now? You don't cycling today, so how is the feeling? You feel the legs are different?
No, but actually I was a little bit worried about ending, and I walk, I anticipate a lot, I think a lot about that. I also see someone, a therapist, to speak about it. And now I feel happy. It's the end of the trip. It's slowly the end. I have 1 month on the way back, but it's different. And I will cycle. I already have a small 4 days trip in February planned. So I will still cycle, of course. And I am just happy. It's a good. I was a little bit sad when I packed my bicycle, but good sadness. Like I just feel kind of proud of me. I achieved something that was a dream since a while. So yeah.
But nowadays you are thinking about the next challenge, or you are settling down now? Next challenge?
Yes. I mean, I know that I want to go to Caribbean sailing. So it's the next challenge. It's a smaller challenge, but still
small compared to this, maybe.
Yeah, it will give me some. During the years, I want to practice, so to sail a little before going. So yeah, this is the next challenge.
Oh, you don't think about like settle down in France?
Yeah, I think settle down. Like it's cool because I want to settle down. So what is cool with sailing to Caribbean? It's 3 weeks a month to sail, so it's not
1 year.
Yeah.
14
so
months.
To go, and if I want to go to spend some time there and maybe go back sailing too. If I don't want to take a plan at all, but it's not sure, but it's okay. It's maybe 3 months. It's not in 3 months. You can have a life, having a place to live, friend, maybe even a boyfriend, and you can live for 3 months and going back. It's not stopping your life.
Yeah.
So I am more looking for now for type of project, small projects.
Small also, small also. Wow, it's cool. So also, I have some technical questions. I think most of the listeners will be glad to hear. First of all, how do you manage those special equipments for this trip? Because you did need like special bicycles, and you need to pack things on the bicycles, and it's sometimes heavy, and you need to cycle on mountains. And also you change climates. How you pack those things? How you sleep in tents?
So I did an Excel tab.
Excel tab?
At
the computer.
In the computer, and I think it's nice to do it. I put every item I will bring with me and their weight, and this way you can really easily see if you took too much, and you have to choose what you will let. So it's so for the weight, it's two things. The heavier stuff, it's the stuff you take. So. A good way to get light is to not take things that you will not need. And the second way, and this is less fun, but it's to buy good quality equipment that are expensive, but to have technical stuff, like a good tent, a good sleeping bag.
Even it's also small pack.
Yeah, when it's good, it's good quality that you can use during 1 year and they will stay and work, but also compact lights and all this stuff. So this costs some money. But I would recommend, if you know that you want to do a long trip, sometimes it's better to buy once, maybe more expensive than to buy cheap, and after 3 months just realize that it's not enough good for what you want to do and buy again. You lose money if you do that. So yeah, this is for equipment. So I try to remember in my first cycling trip I was super cold, so for me it was super important to have a good sleeping bag and to be warm during the nights. And after so the bicycle, I built my bicycle myself.
I built by yourself?
Yeah.
I also built by myself, but it was like for the city, not for like this big of trip.
I mean, yeah, it's basically the same. When you build I use a old puzzle frame, and what I will really recommend, it's you have different style of touring, like traveling bicycle, but for me, what it was super important, it's to have a gear that allow me to go smooth when I climb. So. You can have some speed that you will push and you will go super fast, and some that when you climb, you can really go smoothly and very slow.
The manuals, like it's very important to have a lot of manuals, no? Like shifts.
Yeah, shift, but it's not only it's very technical, but of course, so you need to have shift. But what counts is the size of the shift, so the number of teeth you have on it.
Also. Yeah.
And it's what you can make a calculation. You will not enter on this technical thing, but so it's the development of the bicycle. And so you have to anticipate the fact that you have a very heavy bike because you have a lot of stuff on it. So if you can have a big development, you will be more comfortable. Because when you travel, you don't care development, so this capacity to go smooth. Because in long trip, you don't mind if it took you 4 hours to do a mountain pass. But what you mind, and if you are able to stay on your bicycle and pedal and be comfortable, or if it's too difficult, then you need to push your bicycle. And this is the gear, but you shoes of gear that allow you to stay on the bicycle or not be able to stay on the bicycle. So for me, it's one of the main important things. And yeah, and then you have on bicycle special bag that you put on a rack, and yeah, I use that. It's pretty easy actually.
So how many equipment do you have on the bike? Because you also have a tent, you have a sleeping bag.
I have things to cook. Yeah,
things to cook, also to maintain the bicycle.
Yeah, I have tools and spare parts and things. So I have more or less between 20 and 25 kilo of equipment, including the weight of the bag. And some water and food included on this meat.
It sounds a lot, but it's including those equipment that weight a lot. Also. So,
yeah, and also the bicycle bag are super waterproof, but it's super important. And it's not so light also. And then the tools are not light either. And I am fully self-sufficient, so I have a tent, a bag, a mat, a little inflatable pillow. I have a kitchen, very small kitchen, but yeah, I have a computer.
I have a computer also.
Yeah, I have a camera and yeah, some clothes for all the season to be like convenient, and some like also a long trip, a little pharmacy, like some pills for sickness, and it's more or less that.
It sounds like what you pack for a normal trip, but adding some things for the maintenance of the bikes.
Yeah, it's more or less the same thing that you will, if you go to hike or a trip that you want to have camping gear, it's more or less the same. And you just have to add for the bicycle the tool and spare parts.
But you did some also training before or something for the muscles?
No.
To No, nothing.
No, I really think it's okay to live without being trained on bicycle. You just need to be realistic about your shape when you live. Don't feel forced to do crazy days the first days.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, after 2 weeks, your body starts to take the thing. But of course, it's just a question. If you are, what can be? I am alone, so I cycle the way I feel I can cycle. Every day, so it's very convenient. Maybe if you are 2 person or more, can be a little bit more difficult because maybe your body will not react the same, and you need to communicate about that. But just if you don't if you are not on a rush and you don't need to perform, you can just live and let your body train. Maybe the only thing that I will not recommend is to start on a very mountainous area. Because climbing can be tough, even if you do it slowly.
Yeah.
But yeah, everybody is capable to cycle. But not everybody is capable to cycle more than 100 km per day if you are not trained. And this is a reality, but you'd still travel on bicycle if you cycle 40 kilometers during a day.
So the average one was like 100 kilometers per day?
No. In this trip, I will not be able. I didn't make a count. I think it's pretty low. But also because it's long trip, I will say my average was like 1,000 per month, including day of break and things. Yeah, it was around that.
When you are planning the trip, you also have bicycle lanes, bicycle path. No, most of the time you are cycling on the road. No.
In Europe, you have big routes that cross all Europe. In Korea too, you have 2 big back routes, and that's it. And I don't like them so much. So most of the time I try to avoid them because it's a little bit boring. I prefer small secondary road. So most of the time I check sometime online or ask to local cyclists for beautiful routes. But it's also for car, but scenic routes. I really like that.
So you're cycling on the side of the road most of the time?
Yeah.
It can be dangerous.
Depending where
traffic.
But secondary roads, sometimes it's really no traffic. Some country, when you're on biggest road, have very big shoulder, and some country have not. And also the comportment of drivers, it's very different. Depending on the country, like the Balkan area was very, very scary. Really. Very what? Scary. Scary. Yeah, it was.
I thought maybe the Stanis are more scary because there's so many trucks and.
No, but the Stan, you don't have asphalt on the roads. Nobody and I cycle in a remote place, so you don't have that much traffic. Maybe no traffic sometimes. And even when you have traffic, the road, it's just so shitty that everyone is going so slow. One day I checked with my bicycle a church, and I put my cyclist computer to see how fast we were going, and at the end of the 2 hours driving, the truck was going at 22 kilometers per hour average.
Because it's very shitty road.
Because it's very shitty road. So it was very safe in Central Asia, actually.
I never thought about that,
Yeah, and the Balkan was the worst. Georgia was terrible.
But in Balkan, we are cycling a lot. I think in Europe, we're cycling a lot.
Yeah, but not in the Balkan. Yeah, in the Balkan, was not fun every day. I arrived in Croatia, and the next morning I went to buy a mirror for my bicycle. I was like, I need to see where the danger is when the danger comes. Yeah. So sometimes it's not fun, and sometimes some travelers do crazy, stupid thing in purpose and make you in danger. And it's a reality. People always ask me if I am not scared, and but it's dangerous because I can't run as a woman. But the worst thing and the most the thing that have most chance to happen during the trip is to have a car accident. I mean, an accident between me and a car. Yeah. This is a big risk, and unfortunately, I heard a story about travelers on bicycle that die. It's happened. It's sad, but it's happened.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's also leading me to the second question. You mentioned it a little, but when you're cycling as a woman, it's also different. We also spoke about that before. Did you feel something different when you're cycling as a woman, or?
So I never cycle as a man, so it's difficult for me to compare.
Yeah, but you met some men all the way, so maybe.
I met men and women, so we can share about our experience. And during this trip, I passed a lot of very masculine country, I would say, but like for example, all Central Asia and Turkey, also especially, not especially because Turkey it's not Central Asia, but Turkey and Central Asia. On the public space, you see a lot of men. Mm-hmm. Women are not that present in public space. For example, in Turkey, if you are not in the city, on the cafe, it's only women. And so it can be, at the beginning, challenging, or you can wonder, but I felt most of the whole trip I felt was okay, because you find women all around the world, and there are a huge sense of solidarity with you, and people are so nice and so helpful when they met you as a woman cycling. Like, they feel sometimes that it's not reasonable what you are doing, so they will put you in safety for the night. So yeah, I get so much help everywhere of people hosting me. And also I always felt that if I had an issue, I can just ask help and I will receive help. And so it's very comfortable to feel that. And I was lucky because I also, actually, people that I met, travelers, I met the same number of men and women that get some sexual attachment during the trip.
You met the same amount of people, also male and female? Yeah,
I met 2 men and 2 women that had issue, like sexual issue during the trip.
Mm-hmm. So it's something common that you happen on the trip? Because when I interviewed Norwegian girls, so also she's told me about something happened in Egypt, for example.
Yeah, I imagine. So it's difficult for me to speak about that because it's not my experience. I was lucky to not experience that. But yeah, it's actually you are sometimes on vulnerable situation because you sleep in people's house. So yeah, you can have like thing can happen.
But you didn't experience any.
No, I slept in some man's house that were just them and never. But I really just follow my intuition and if I am not comfortable with the situation, I say it. It's happened to me to say like, even if I was feeling like the guy was nice and like the situation was okay, I was feeling not comfortable. And I was also feeling that it was respecting him to say to him. So this situation was in Greece and he invited me in his parents' house. And so he invited me in the cafe of the village in front of everyone. The woman running the coffee told me like, it's a good guy, it's okay. So the situation was pretty safe.
Mm-hmm.
And he was sleeping in his parents' house in a big room with 2 beds, the 2 beds at the opposite side of the room. And but I was not feeling comfortable to sleep in the same room of him. And I just said to him, like, I am really sorry, but I don't feel comfortable. And it just said, okay, no worry. And he wanted to sleep in a friend's house.
Mm-hmm.
And even if his parents was there, but I didn't want it to be like, a little bit awkward, because for him, it will be also awkward. And it was not nice because he was nice with me, inviting me. So in this situation, I really learned in this trip to express myself.
And to put
limits.
Yeah,
exactly.
For like, sometimes you need help. Sometimes you need someone to help you, but you need to put borders. And it's not in any case, in any scenario, you can accept everything.
And it's the same with camping. It's happened that I arrived in the village and I was thinking sleeping in the village. And I don't know. I was not feeling it.
So what do you do? You cycle for the next one?
Yeah, and when I am, especially when I am alone, when I am not cycling with other people, I always try to not arrive too late, to have time to change my plan. to not be like the dark arrive and like it's in a rush.
So you finish your day very early, but you start your day very early.
Yeah, and it's okay if I do like shorter day because I do it like that.
Mm-hmm.
I also have time this way to enjoy the evening and everything. So yeah, I had one scary situation during this trip. It was in Armenia. I was camping in a remote place close to a road in a mountain pass, a remote road. And it was a very touristic building, little building, isolated, but nobody during the night. And no village around. Pitch my tent, and around midnight a car park in the parking, so not so close to my tent, and then start the car again, come to park super close to my tent, and a guy went out. I imagine I was in my tent, I was just hearing, and he was starting to speak to himself, sounding quite drunk, and he opened a can, and he started doing his thing, walking around my tent, and during 20 minutes, I was in the middle of nowhere with a guy, probably drunk, walking around my tent. So It's not a funny moment. And at the end, just left, and yeah, that's it. But yeah, you don't feel so well in this situation.
Wow. What you can do in this situation? Like you have something for protection? Or?
Yeah, I have my safety process, I will say it, like, I always have my passport on me when I sleep. This way, if I have to run, I have the most important paper to run with me. So in this situation, I had time to heard about like him going. So I had my phone. I took my portable battery to be sure to have like, and I was ready. I have a knife, kind of a big knife to use. And
for cooking or just for
no, just it's a technical. Knife. And yeah, in this situation, my scenario is if a guy try to open the tent, like it's not normal that someone try to open your tent at midnight. So you just
policeman, it can be like
but if a policeman will not do it, he will speak to you before, like knocking. Actually, someone trained like an official will not enter in your tent like that before announcing. Policeman, so let's say like I am a policeman, can you go out, or I will open the tent. So yeah, in this situation the technique is to open, so to cut the tent in the opposite direction and to run.
Not to be ready with the knife like punching.
The knife, like I mean I get trained for that to be honest, but you don't want to kill someone in a foreign country. Actually, it's a worst case scenario, because after that, even if you manage to kill the guy, what you do? You
cycle out of the country.
It's very good book. So first thing, it's if you manage to escape, you escape.
Yeah.
Like, but mostly the knife, it's for confidence.
No, I'm kidding.
It's just like you know that you have something like in case of. But,
it's very nice that you have like this kind of procedure that you did for yourself, like. I'm hearing for you, but you're also like very organized person, but you're trying not to be in this trip. Like you did excel for the weights, but when you are...
I'm organized, but like, so because you need, even like, you need to be a little bit organized to not lose things. You don't carry extra stuff, so you need every stuff you carry, so you don't want to lose them. So in my bicycle, I know where it's everything. Everything is in the same place, and everything every day it's organized exactly the same way. So yeah, it's not. I mean, I think it's super difficult to be super messy when you do that, because you will lose a lot of time every day if you have to unpack everything to find your can opener or something. Like, it's difficult. But and for this less safety thing, Actually, before a trip, I had a moment with people that were helping me to prepare this side of the trip, and I did that enough early before the trip to think about emergency situation and think about the way to react. And after, like, if you go to run, what you do after that? Like, once you escape the situation, what's the next step?
So, as I told you in the beginning, now is the time that the old lady coming with the big plastic bag full of big plastic bags, full of plastic bags and also plastic, I don't know, covers. So she's making so much noise. So I try to clear the sound as much as I can, but sorry for the disruptions in the sound. Let's continue.
And was very scary. Actually, I did nightmare after thinking about that, because you think about the worst case scenario. But once you think about it, you can just put it in a little box, and you don't need to think about it all the time. You just start, like, now it's settled, you know, like what to do if it's happened. So yeah, this is kind of preparation. But after the trip, like not following the flow, it's so easy. You have a bicycle. Okay, you see these nice roads. Yeah, let's go to see. Someone inviting you in the place. You plan to cycle like 30 kilometers more, but the person is nice, the place is nice. You start. This is like the freedom.
It's the freedom of bicycles.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow, amazing.
You don't need to plan for that.
I think you give such an inspiration to people and also for yourself, because you just prove yourself all the time that you can do things and you can be prepared for those situations like you experienced in Armenia, for example. And I think this is the issue why you want to continue that. Like you did the one in the US and you did the one now, and maybe that would give you the power to do and continue those things.
Yeah, of course, and it's super nice to feel capable, like as a thought.
You need to celebrate it. Did you drink a sake or something for celebrating the moment?
The last night of my cycling trip, so because now I send my bicycle home, I drink a soda, I remember I was like, okay, I have to celebrate. I did a big plate of pasta with a lot of cheese on it.
Of cheese?
That was my celebration. No, I didn't win so much money, so I just buy cheap cheese, but it was really nice and fun. Yeah.
Wow, amazing. Really, this is very important to celebrate achievements, even if it's small ones.
It's difficult to decide when is the end of a trip, because I finished the cycling part of a trip, but because I came back without taking a plan, it's still 1 month of trip and like adventure, so kind of a part of a trip was ending in Tokyo, but the trip will end when I will be back home. But going back this way so slow, it makes the end less like radical. It kind of comes slowly. Yeah,
you are preparing yourself.
Yeah, and I think for me, it will be better this way. I hope.
Yeah, for sure. I read very good sentence in a book that says that it's very amazing that when you're flying, or like for you it's not flying, but when I'm going to a trip and go back, you have a certain amount of time just by yourself, without the telephone, without anything, to think what you're gonna do or what you did, like to be prepared for the landing or arriving to the country.
Exactly.
So
it took 1 month for that.
2 months, yeah. For you, you need a long time for
and so
digest all the things that you did. Yeah.
And actually, like the way back will be very contemplative, because I will spend 7 days in the train.
But what amazing view we'll see.
Yeah.
It's the middle of the winter, But
it's perfect for thinking, actually. Train is the most romantic way, I think, to travel.
Yeah, exactly. I have one last question regarding this.
Yeah.
What you are doing on this amount of time by yourself? You're like listening to podcasts or listening to music, or?
Yeah, when you cycle, it's true that it can be like you cycle, so you can only listen or think yourself. But that's it. It's not possible to watch a series or to read a book. I listen a lot of podcasts. I really like listening podcasts about history, culture thing of the country I am passing by or country I will pass by. And listen also like some good stories, thing like that, music. I am thinking too. And it's amazing. It's when you are in good mind, you really have time to process a lot of thoughts. It's amazing. Yeah. I have to admit, if you are a little bit too much down, it can be also a mental prison. It can overthink too much. It can be nice just to allow yourself to have so much time to think about your life and just like if you are in bad moods, maybe it's too intense. But these days, these top days, you just have to listen podcasts.
Podcasts all the time.
To not think.
Yeah. I will send you the podcast about the Norwegian cycling. Maybe you get some.
Exactly.
Okay, we're going to the end. And in this podcast, we have a tradition. Every guest have opportunity to give a wish for himself for the future, because the podcast is something that's going on the internet. So when you are listening to this episode, like 1 or 2 years ahead, what you want to wish to yourself?
To do another bike trip like that, but with a family. My family.
Right. Wow. You need to train them. It's gonna be tough.
I mean, I still need to find someone to have kids and think before, but
I thought with your parents maybe.
No, I thought with kids and family like that.
Wow, amazing.
So
I want to wish you a pleasant way back. It's 1 month, but amazing trip also. Thank you very much for having me here.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you very much. אז מה היה לנו היום? אליאס, אני מקווה שאני אומר את השם הזה נכון, לקחה אותנו למסע הבאמת מטורף שלה, מצרפת עד יפן באופניים, 10,000 קילומטר ברכבה שנמשכו כ-14 חודשים, משהו מטורף שבאמת אין שני לו, וזה לימד אותה הרבה מאוד דברים, גם על העולם, גם על איך שאנשים מתנהלים, ובעיקר לימד אותה על עצמה, וככה היא מנסה להעביר את המסר הזה במסעות שלה, גם ברשתות החברתיות וגם בקרב האנשים שהיא פוגשת בדרך. כל פעם שאני פוגש אנשים כאלה זה מעורר השראה. נכון, לא בטוח שזה מתאים לכל אחד, ונכון שגם אני באופן אישי יכול להגיד שלעשות מסע באופניים או מסע בטרמפים לאורך כל כך הרבה זמן, עוד מאתגר ואני צריך להתרגל לרעיון הזה. אבל בסוף כל אחד מהדברים האלה אפשר ללמוד מהם קצת כיוונים אחרים ולשלב אותם גם בטיול הקונבנציונלי שלנו. אז אנחנו היינו בטוסי נייר, אפשר למצוא אותנו בכל הפלטפורמות, באינסטגרם ובפייסבוק, פפרסנס פודקאסט. אוהב אתכם ויאללה נתראה בפרקים הבאים. ביי בינתיים.